Okay, so now we're going to get into our the week is closing, day 7. Here's one, and then we're going to talk about why we're doing this. Do not bear false witness, sometimes written, thou shalt not lie. And we call it the 9th commandment. Do you know what I found out? It's not about lying. That bearing false witness is not about lying. Do you know what it is? It's about don't tell another person's story. Because in a courtroom, when somebody tries to tell another person's testimony, the judge or the lawyer will say, that's hearsay, right? Well, you can't, that's like telling a lie. When you hear a story or see a situation that's not really your story to tell, I wonder how many problems in life would be avoided if when somebody asks you about somebody else, your answer to them is, you know what? That's their story to tell. That's their story. Well, how are Kathy and Eric doing? You know what? That's their story to tell. Why don't you call her? How's Judy doing? I heard she was ill last year. You know what? That's her story. Why don't you give her a call and ask? She'd be happy to talk to you. We forget. We forget. And we love to be in the middle of conversations, right? One of my first jobs when I moved from Ottawa to Winnipeg, I worked in a professional office in Ottawa and in a medical clinic. And so when I came here, I was interviewing for a similar type of job in another medical field. And the doctor that was interviewing me asked me a question that was very relevant, a very personal question, by the way, of my former employer. And I was very good friends with my former employer. We had a very close office and knew his family and he knew ours, etc. And so new stuff, right? He was also very well known in the neighborhood. Like, he lived next door to the prime minister. Our office had, hot and cold running politicians all the time and people of means. And so I was very familiar with a lot of stuff that was going on. And Ottawa's a small town. And so when he asked me, I looked at this guy and I said, you know what? I know the answer to that, but I don't believe it's relevant to my qualification for this job. And furthermore, I thought, well, I've got Mike. Furthermore, it's a small world. And there is a chance, a good chance, that you're going to meet this person. When you do, you can ask him, and I guarantee you that he will answer the question. And at that moment, he laughed and he hired me on the spot. He says, you're exactly who I'm looking for. Because he had a practice very similar. And about 2 years later, he was on holiday. He met the person he had asked the question about, came back laughing into the office, and he says, you'll never guess. I said, sure, you met so-and-so, and he told you, didn't he? Well, because I already knew. And yeah, exactly happened. So don't tell anybody else's story, because it's not your story to tell. I just love that that story. And realize that when we do that, when we get into those conversations, actually we're lying because we don't have firsthand knowledge as hearsay. So those are your 7 challenges for next one a day. So why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because when we're going to set a week aside to live on purpose. And I know that this is a canned thing where somebody's saying, well, this is what we're all going to just do it together. And things are going to happen in our life because we're doing something on purpose. But what happens when we do these things on purpose together like this, or just as an individual, you set your goal, for instance, what happens is that within us starts an awareness of foundational life and truths that we need to be living without thinking. And we think, well, it doesn't sound like a great big spiritual deep thing happening, but I'll tell you what, it is. It's exactly the thing that we miss doing because we're out there looking for the greater spiritual revelation of something, and we forget that we need to be living in this amazing reality of life, living on purpose, loving passionately, and inspiring others while we're doing it. That is our life. That's the reality. Then when we realize that this is the life we need to live, what happens is the flooding in of the things that Father says, you know what? I can trust you with this. I can trust. Are you watching? I can trust them. I don't know who he sends, angels, whoever. But he looks and he says, I can trust you. The other thing that happens is within yourself, you go, I feel trustworthy because I'm not just letting life randomly happen to me. I'm living my life. Nobody else is doing it. No one else is pulling the strings. No one else is pushing the buttons. I am making choices. I'm making good ones, and I'm doing it best I can. And believe me, when you do that, when you lay that foundation, you purposely start living from your sacred self that will empower us to go into the next levels that we are being taken. And we have to live our life from purpose to purpose. We love passionately and inspire others in that.